Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick video expressing my thoughts on the Charlie Kirk assassination. It seems to be what everybody's doing in one form or another, and I realize that I don't have a very large audience, so I'm looking at this more as a personal catharsis, maybe, to get my thoughts out of my brain. And I am recording this with just the camera audio. Normally I've got a microphone hooked up to better audio recording software, but here I moved out of my regular studio and I'm just in my living room right now to record this. I think that my take might be a little different than you think, but I think it's important that we talk about it because that's really what Charlie Kirk was all about. So it's not going to be a long video, but I hope you get something out of it. Charlie Kirk was someone with whom I did not agree with very much. We had similar views, but he was more absolute about them. I believe that there's a little more room for compromise, maybe, than he believes. But I also think that he recognized that as well. A lot of times he talked about his personal conviction with an understanding that he's not going to get 100% of what he wants. I think that the characterization of him by a lot of people is wholly incorrect, because I've watched dozens of hours of him speaking, and I think I got a pretty good idea of where he was coming from. He was a Christian man, he was a family man, he believed in the sanctity of life, he believed that we are born the way God intended us to, and that he loved each and every person on the planet and hoped for their soul. He hoped for, he prayed for their soul. That is not the characterization you see from people. A lot of times, and I've seen evidence of this, people don't take the time like I have to listen to what he has to say. And though I disagreed with him on many different things, I believe that he was one of the most important people for us at this point in time. And this is where you may find it surprising. You may find my point of view a little surprising. I blame myself for his assassination. I blame you for his assassination. We created the environment in which somebody thought it was okay to take his life. And we are going to pay for that. I fear we're going to pay for that in several different ways. One, because we don't have anybody right now that is asking us to talk to each other. We don't have anybody that's going to people with whom he disagrees and saying, I want to hear your point of view. Talk to me. Let's have a dialogue. He did that, especially with young people. And this is important. And this is where some people don't understand what we've done. Charlie Kirk was very influential with young people. I have a colleague who I'm going to quote probably at the end of the video, who talked to our students at the high school and asked, "Do you even know who this guy is?" And they were all like, "Yes, we're very aware of him because he is fighting for us to have a voice, and he is fighting for us to strengthen our convictions." He may talk somebody down who's arguing with him, but all he's doing is saying, you need to do better. If this is how you feel, you need to do better and know why you feel this way. Be sure of your convictions. Be sure of why you believe the things you do. He never insulted anybody. He never called anybody names, and he was called names every single day that he was out there. And I challenge you to watch hours and hours and hours of it. He is consistent in his values, in what he says, and he's not afraid to point out flaws in your argument and make you a better person. And what did we do for that? We killed him. We created an environment where it seemed like we should eliminate our opponents, people who think differently. And how do we do that? One, we don't call out our own side when they call for violent rhetoric or when they call for violence. We don't call out our own side. We conveniently stay silent when our side calls for violence and constantly point out every little stupid thing that the other side does. And I've made video after video. I haven't made video after video on this, but I have done some content talking about the danger of all this fascist rhetoric. But you need to realize that I've read so much about it. I teach it at school. If you give me one scholar that says this is what fascism is, I can find 3 more that say it's something different. And if you give me one thing that proves that Donald Trump is a fascist, I can give you 5 things that prove that the Democrat Party is fascist. Because here's the thing about fascism. It's not fascism until it's totalitarianism, isn't it? But yet all we do is say, vote for this guy and democracy is at stake. The very soul of our country. We're going to lose everything. 2020, Biden says you vote for Trump, he's going to put you back in chains. Donald Trump has the same type of rhetoric, and we're quick to call out one side and easy to ignore the other side. And you know what that does? That gets people riled up. And what did the shell casing say when they found the gun? Hey, fascist, catch. So we did this. And we've got a choice. We've really got a choice in how we move forward. And I wish that we could just unplug the internet. But I'm using the internet to even send this message out. There was a really great analogy by a radio host that I listen to when I drive into work. And he said that before the internet, if you were a nut job, everybody knew you were a nut job. And that you were like the only nut job in like a 500-mile radius. And you could never find anybody who agreed with you. And everybody thought you were a nut job. And you kind of just stayed away from society. But with the internet, if you're a nut job, you hop on the internet, and all of a sudden, all those other nut jobs and all those other 500-mile radius areas all around the world pop up and say, hey, I agree with you, and validate your nut job idea. And then the internet says, Oh, you like nut job ideas, it seems. You're talking to nut jobs. So I'm just going to give you nut job content. And then all of a sudden, the nut job, all he sees is nut job content and talks to nut jobs, and their entire existence and their worldview is validated. And their nut job ideas seem normal. If you look at all the major problems everybody's talking about right now, yes, there were problems 40 years ago, but they have increased since the internet, especially since smartphones. So no wonder if we all tolerate this rhetoric that the nut jobs are going to do something. And so yes, this kid should get the death penalty. But we need to look in the mirror and see what we have done here. We have had 2 attempts on the president's life. We have the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We have the assassination of a refugee. You have the murder of a CEO of a pharmaceutical company. You've got the murder of Democratic politicians in, Minnesota. You have political violence in the streets. Even last night, a Charlie Kirk vigil somewhere, Texas, had somebody yelling and screaming obscenities at him. And what I see is people justifying it on the one hand and ignoring it on the other hand. And underneath all of that, you've got the inner city violence, and you've got the people going to schools and shooting up schools. And everybody's blaming the wrong things. We're blaming each other, we're blaming guns, we're blaming this, we're blaming that. Let's blame all of us collectively. And let's stop blaming inanimate objects, because that gives us the right to forgive ourselves. Because Charlie Kirk was shot with a hunting rifle, which everybody says, we're not trying to take away your hunting rifles, but the second Charlie Kirk was shot, they're like, see, one of your own was shot, we need to ban guns. I don't know what the statistic is, 200 million guns, 300 million guns, 400 million guns out there. You're not taking guns away. You're not taking guns away, so stop talking about that. Let's find real solutions to violence. Like, why is the violence increasing? And I'm not talking about the numbers of people dying, because that's what people want to talk about when they talk about the guns. I'm talking about, why is there so much violence? It's us. It's the way we talk. It's the internet. It's the algorithms pushing people into echo chambers. I'll tell you what, I'm a little fired up. To the point where I've got my set of values, and I'm going to fight for those values. And I don't mean fight like everybody else says, get up and get in their face and fight. No, I'm going to do what is peacefully allowed in this country and fight for my value systems. I'm going to call people out and say, each time that you say we need to do something about guns, you're ignoring the problem and causing future children to die. So I'm calling you out too. Because yes, I've been called all sorts of things when it comes to guns, trust me. Well, I'm done being nice about it. Screw you, the Second Amendment is real, it's affirmed, and the guns aren't going anywhere. There's been 20,000 gun laws since the late 60s, and in your eyes it's not doing anything. And yeah, I'm talking to the left right now. If you really want to protect the kids, how about we do this? Let's get those guns and put them in the hands of law enforcement, and let's have them in school campuses. Oh, but I don't want my kid to see an M16. Tough. Get them to realize that that guy with an M16 in a uniform is there to protect them and that they are safe. That's the world we live in. Nothing you can do about it. Let's shore up the schools. Let's lock them down. Let's put up the walls. Let's do whatever we have to do, because we created a world. We created this world. And this Charlie Kirk assassination felt different than everything else that's been going on in the last couple of decades. And I'm not talking because he was a conservative. Because I didn't feel that way about Steve Scalise and the baseball players, conservative baseball players. I didn't feel that way about the Democrat politicians in Minnesota. I didn't even feel that about Trump or Nancy Pelosi's husband or Rand Paul or who was it, Kavanaugh that they were lurking outside of. This feels different because here's one guy that's saying, hey everybody, if we don't have discourse, we have violence. So let's have discourse. And we created a world that murdered him, that assassinated him. Mother of 2 little kids. And we've got a lot of work to do because I have seen some people that I considered friends and that I considered intelligent saying some pretty awful things in the last couple of days. And we're all adults. So when I see somebody post something and then later retract it, I'm sorry, but you're an adult. We're trying to teach our kids to think before they speak. I say it to my students all the time. You need to think before you open your mouth hole and let words out. So I no longer have sympathy for anybody that opens their mouth without thinking about it, because we're all adults. We know how to think before we speak. I'm not very active on social media, but I am deleting very old friends really quick because of the nastiness and ugliness that I'm seeing. Yes, we need to condemn political violence. Yes, we need to stand together, but we need to actually do it. And this is my call to action, is that we need to start calling out our own sides. You need to stop pointing out the other side. Why don't we just do that for a change? Why don't all of you progressives just shut up about the conservatives and focus on your own party? And why don't all you conservatives stop focusing on the progressives and start focusing on our own party? Wouldn't that be great if I could open up Twitter and I could see Stephen King lambasting the left for all of the crap that they do? And then maybe see Ben Shapiro doing the same? Every time somebody tries to do that, though, they're highly criticized or assassinated, right? How about Bill Maher? Is he next? He better not be next. He is another voice that isn't afraid to speak his mind and to criticize both right and left. We need to do that because we created the environment that killed Charlie Kirk. We need to do this for our kids. I was saying earlier that this feels different, and then I got a little off topic. I don't know why it feels different. I feel different because maybe I did say it. I'll see in editing. Maybe I'll cut this part out, but maybe I'll just leave it because it's honest and it's raw. He was the one person that could have bridged us when we wouldn't bridge ourselves. He was the one person that would have done that, and we killed him for it. We've lost our way. My colleague that I was talking about earlier wrote a little 2-page thing called Good versus Evil, and I think he's right. If there was ever a time to really examine our soul, I think it's now. And I've been saying it for years and years and years, that what we need to do is let's protect those kids. And progressives might be like, well, yeah, then we need to take away guns, and I disagree with you. I think we need more guns in the right hands, at every door, at every school. It would be nice if we could just unplug the internet. But it's going to be like, oh, you don't mind. See, this is where I get upset, because people will be like, you don't mind if a bunch of kids are killed because you just want to keep your guns. Well, I could give you proof that the internet is killing people and say, maybe we should just shut down the internet. And it'll be like, oh, I don't want that to happen because I need to be able to order my chicken wings online. Or I'm not going to be able to do my job without the internet. Internet hasn't been around that long, honestly. It has been around that long. We could take it down. If we as a world decided that we're doomed if we don't, we could take it down. But that's the thing is I've done a lot of research on it. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I don't think that getting rid of guns is going to solve a damn thing. And you're going to say, well, we're not trying to get rid of guns. And I cry BS. We have a mental health problem. And I am not even talking about actual mental health. The whole thing, all of us. The mental health problem is the internet and the way that we are interacting with it. We really, really, really messed that up. I remember 1990, whatever, 91, 92, when it started becoming mainstream, when everybody's getting the AOL CDs in the mail and stuff like that. And it was so great. We were just like, look at all of this. Look at all of this stuff that we can do. Look how we can meet new people from all over the place. I met people from Germany, person from Atlanta. I've got friends up in Seattle and Philadelphia that I met on the internet. And it was great in the 90s. And then it just started going downhill. And I think one of the biggest problems, there's so many, but one of the biggest problems is that then we're like, hey, we could put it in the phone. I saw this video from a psychiatrist or psychologist, I'm not sure which one he was, from Harvard, I believe, where he's talking about how boredom is good for mental health. And I agree with him. I agree with this phone thing. And he said what happens is your brain doesn't like to be bored. So when your brain is bored, it kicks off this part of your brain that makes you start thinking deeper about things, about serious subjects, about philosophy. It makes you more creative. It enhances your thought process because it doesn't like being bored. And then we invent this thing that we put in our pocket that every time we're bored, we override the brain and we stare at a screen. So we're not thinking about deep subjects. We're not thinking about the big questions in life. And we're not being creative. And just look at it. TikTok challenges. Look at the music. Some of it's good, some of it, a lot of it is garbage. And it's making people apathetic. It's also making people depressed because their brains aren't thinking about things like, why am I here? What's the meaning of life? What's the purpose? So, on a very, very deep level, I wish we could just unplug the internet. But here we are. So what do we do? I'm going to read the last paragraph of my colleague's paper. I didn't ask him permission, so I'm not going to name him. But this is what I think we do. Excuse me while I grab it. Quote, so today and every day moving forward, my ask is that you try to see the good in everything. Be a good human. Do good things. Engage in good faith discussions. Combat the evil that surrounds us. It begins right here in our community, and it's going to take all of us to embrace the good in this world and reject the evil if we want to continue to enjoy our amazing way of life. Quote, when the discourse ends, the violence begins, end quote, Charlie Kirk. So whatever form it takes in your life, please find some faith. Please find a higher cause. Please understand that you shouldn't treat others the way that you don't want to be treated. Please understand that we all want to fix the same problems, but may have different solutions. And there's where our disagreement is, but our vision of the world is some place where we can find some common ground. And then lastly, and this is where I really hope you take this to heart, because my life circumstances are such that I never ended up having kids. I get 160 kids a year, and then the next year I get a different 160 kids, and they're all 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So those of you that have kids, please teach them that they matter, and that their voices matter, and that we want to hear what they have to say, and that we want to have discussions. And please put it into their heads that differing ideas are okay, and that nobody wants to hurt them with differing ideas. And then please give them a hug, and please reaffirm whatever faith you have. And let's go forward with intense goodness. This is it for political things. I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do with Flint's Constitutional Speakeasy. I'd kind of like to do the whole music thing, but I'd kind of also like to touch on history too. So maybe I'll do a little of that and just stay out of politics. Next video, be about music, I guess. All right, thanks for listening. I am looking for an optimistic way forward, and I hope that my close friends can help me find that as well. So be good. See you soon. Bye.